Okay, it's May 16th, little update here. I started trimming, I don't know if you can see that up there, but trimmed angled down about 1.5 inches and cut that out. I wanted to get my turbo plane up in there to start putting that angle in on the top so I could get that track released and let it swing forward again. But I don't know if that's quite enough yet. I used sawzall, one-handed sawzall, and yeah, you wind up using a handsaw for some of it too, but I'm not sure if that's quite enough yet. But I may be able to get a chisel some of that out now too. I don't know. We'll see. But still no fuel tanks, and I don't think they're anywhere near to being made yet. Talked to a friend of mine whose friend is the fabricator, and he said, well, he's still tweaking the plans a little bit. And he was going to do that the first weekend, and so I don't know. We'll see. But I'm kind of working on the few things that I can work on. I picked up a bunch of threaded rod here. I'll have to cut those in half. That's for my my forms for making the deck beams. Something I don't think you've seen yet. I got a couple of these in. These are counterbores, and I just put them onto a 1/2-inch shaft. So once I drill a hole out in the keel or whatever, and this one's a little bit smaller for the 1/2-inch bolts, and this is for the 3/4-inch bolts. And then here's another one, a little different, but this one's for 3/8-inch bolts. These were $100 a pop, and so I was really hesitant to buy these, but I finally broke down and bought them. And they work fine. It's going to be a lot easier to get the countersunk holes for the nuts and washers with those. You can see here I've been doing them. Yeah, I did have some chip out, but there's a couple of them that are in. But I've been working on making the forms for my deck beams, and that's really what's all up today. And here's one cut out. Yeah, I don't want to do that, do I? And I decided to go with quite a bit less camber or crown than what George had normally talked about in his deck beams. Here is the crown that is actually on the transom. This is a little more what George would have called for. And if you can see this line here, this is the new line. Obviously it would be up here, but still it's about 4 inches less, maybe 4.5 inches less camber than what I've got back there now on that transom. But I debated and debated this. My actual length is going to be about, there's 14 foot markers here, so these are a little bit longer than they need to be. But I put 5 inches of rise over the 14 feet. Looking on the internet and seeing what other people were doing, what other designers have called for, and they've called for between 1/4 and 1/2 inch of rise per foot of width. And that's where you calculate this at your maximum beam width. And that would have put me between 3.5 and 7 inches. And I went 5 inches here of rise. I know that takes away a little headroom in the boat, but I don't think it's really going to be an issue for me anyway. But what I didn't want is I didn't want a deck so curved that you couldn't walk on it or put things on it, you know. In this curve, this crown that we've got in what he called for originally was just an awful lot of crown. I mean, I know water runs off easier if it's crowned more, but being as I'm going to fiberglass it and coat it, the deck, I don't think I necessarily need the water to rush off that quickly. I mean, it'll flow off if there's any crown whatsoever. So what that means is this transom back here has got a way steeper crown than what I need. So it's going to have to be cut down to match the rest of the deck. And I made that out of bigger pieces of wood than what were called for, simply for that reason. If I decided to change the crown, I could. Now 4.5 inches is going to bring that down, you know, lower than what I'd want, but I think we'll still be all right. I don't think there's going to be an issue there. And it's only going to lower the ceiling height, the headroom, in the center of the boat. It's not going to have any effect, obviously, on the outside edges. They'll sit in the same place they always would. So that's where we are. I got to cut another one of these out. I got another 2x down here, and I bought 2x10s. I didn't need 2x10s, of course, because I could have got by with just 2x6s. But now this scrap piece underneath here, I can actually cut a good 2x4 out of it yet now too, so it's not a complete waste. But this is just pine. This isn't Douglas fir, so these won't be pieces that'll actually go into the boat. But anyway, I got one more of these to cut out, this board down here, and then I'll glue and screw them together, and then I got a 2x6 to go underneath them, so it kind of forms a base with these paired up 2x standing upright on that base, and then I'll run those threaded rods along either side of the forms, so I can clamp them down to the shape. And of course, it'll also be easier to to bend these to shape, because they don't have a whole lot of shape to them now. It's only a 5-inch rise there. But that's what I decided to do, and that's what I'm going to stick with. So other than that, not a whole lot's been going on. Like I said, I'm kind of waiting for the fuel tanks, and everything that I'm doing is just kind of putsy stuff that's really not that important at the moment, but might as well get some of it done anyway.